This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for everybody. And I'm not just saying that. I'm an actual customer. I've been buying Sterling Soap for over a year now, sampling different products and scents along the way, and I have not come across a single scent that I don't like yet. Check them out for yourself at sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. And welcome back to another edition of This Day in Sports History. It is November 9th, and on this day across the sports history landscape, the Ohio State Buckeyes probably got screwed, a doctor put a bird in a chokehold, and the greatest offensive battle in the history of college football did not live up to its billing. All of that plus a few odds and ends and a non-sports fun fact about the origin of a computer term that you've probably used a bunch. This episode won't make you any sexier or any stronger, but it may make you smarter and more scintillating in conversation. But you gotta stick around to the end to soak it all in. Let's start with what happened on this day in 1974 when Ohio State was denied a touchdown on the final play in what ultimately cost them a shot at a national title. The top-ranked and 8-0 Buckeyes were on the road at Michigan State. The Spartans were 4-3-1, but despite their record, Ohio State head coach Woody Hayes had some concerns about the talent that Michigan State had. He thought there had been some cheating to get some of those talented players to East Lansing. He actually reported Michigan State violations to the NCAA that resulted in an eventual 3-year postseason ban for the Spartans, with many saying it was in retaliation for what happened in this game. Ohio State led 13-3 with 9 minutes to play in the game, and that's when things started to go south for the Buckeyes. Michigan State receiver Mike Jones burned Buckeye DB Tim Fox badly for a 44-yard TD catch. Now, Fox was trying to play through the pain of a separated shoulder and strained knee ligaments, which limited his ability to keep up with the speedy Jones, and the Ohio State lead was cut to 4. Michigan State attempted a 2-point conversion, but it failed. After an Ohio State drive stalled, a Buckeye punt pinned the Spartans at their own 12 with about 3.5 to play. Ohio State's defense was one of the best in the country. In their previous 6 games, they had not given up more than 9 points. So what happened next came as a huge surprise. Michigan State ran a simple dive play. Fullback Levi Jackson took the inside handoff, ran it off tackle, and found nothing but daylight in front of him. He went 88 yards for the score. PAT made it 16-13 Michigan State. There was still more than 3 minutes to play in this one, plenty of time for Ohio State to drive down the field and score. With 29 seconds left on a moving clock, the Buckeyes had 1st and goal from the 1, but no timeouts. What happened next was pure chaos. Here's Chris Schenkel with the call for ABC that day.
Upset in the making. In the 4th quarter, and we have 24 seconds. 1st and goal for the Buckeyes. They trail by 3. They did not get in. Harold Henson. We have 10 seconds to go. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Michigan State has upset Ohio State. What a game, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the students on the field. This is unbelievable. What a thrill.
So it doesn't really come across on the call, but Michigan State players intentionally laid on top of the Ohio State players at the bottom of the pile, preventing them from getting up, allowing for more time to run off the clock. That could have and probably should have been a penalty. Instead, the clock ran, Ohio State snapped the ball, and whether they beat the clock or not was ultimately the question. Buckeye running back Brian Baschnagel crossed the goal line with the football, though, and one of the line judges actually raised his hands to signal he had scored. In the next 2.5 minutes, You had Michigan State students swarming the field celebrating what they thought was a win. Woody Hayes punching a kid with the back of his fist. Ohio State players celebrating in the end zone after hearing what they thought was confirmation of their touchdown. Then Michigan State celebrating a few moments later and heading off to the locker room. And then there was sideline reporter Jim Lampley trying to provide some clarity on the situation in a mob of students.
It is not yet clear who has won this football game. Commissioner Wayne Duke has gone to the officials' dressing room and is trying to confer with head official Gene Calhoun right now.
So in that meeting that Lampley references, officials told Big Ten Commissioner Wayne Duke that the Buckeyes did not come set for a full second prior to snapping the ball. Ohio State would have been called for illegal motion, and the game would have ended anyway. So 45 minutes after that final play, it was finally determined it was over. Michigan State 16, Ohio State 13. Hayes was furious. And this is a guy who did not need much to heat up and boil over, and he felt like the league was screwing him. He was ready to lead a charge into the Spartan locker room and start throwing punches. Instead, he ordered his team to get on the bus, no showers, they were flying back to Columbus. On his television show filmed that night and shown the following day, Hayes went on a full-blown rant about how dirty Michigan State football was and how unfair the result had been. In a time when virality really was not a thing, considering that in 1974 we only had, 4 television channels, no 24-hour news or sports channels, no social media, but his rant went viral around the country. His words got him an official reprimand from the league office and the threat of a suspension. It ended up costing them a shot at the national championship as well. Now, they would have still needed to find a way to beat Southern Cal in the Rose Bowl a month and a half later, but they would have entered that game as the number 1 team in the country instead of number 3. How about 2 other guys who were in a fighting mood on this day in 1984? A battle at the Boston Garden between the unbeaten 76ers and the unbeaten Celtics turned into an ugly brawl between 2 of the greatest of all time. Boston had a double-digit lead in the third quarter. After a Sixers-made basket, the Celtics pushed the tempo. Dr. J was guarding Larry Bird, and the two got tangled up. An offensive foul was called on Bird, and he was not happy about that call. They went back to the other end, and that's when things got physical.
There's Dr. J trying to hold Bird. Bird retaliates, and as always, the officials see the first one.
And a fight between Jay and Bird has broken out on the court. And Moses Malone takes Bird down. He's got him in a headlock. Casey Jones pulls Malone off the pack. And now ML Carr and Malone do a little pushing. Malone throws a shot at him. Now Cunningham and Carr go at it. And Larry Bird still wants a piece of Jay. My goodness.
Both the doctor and Larry got ejected from the game. Julius was a little baffled in the moment. They were friends off the court. They'd done commercials with each other, collaborated on a video game for the Commodore 64. They respected each other. And he didn't understand why Larry really got so upset at him. Here's Dr. J talking about that altercation.
The fight, he came down court and he was kind of like stomping, and it looked like a moment in which he was going to take a swing. And it was very uncharacteristic because, we did Converse commercials together. We did Spalding commercials together. So, we were kind of cool. I thought something was going to happen because he was definitely mad, but he was mad at the referee. He wasn't mad at me. And I just extended my arm to hold him back. And it ended up sliding up to his neck. So it was really inadvertent. I didn't really mean to grab him by the neck, but it was kind of inadvertent. I pushed him in the chest. His hand slid up, got to his neck. He reaches for my neck. Next thing I know, it's a melee.
No suspensions were handed down, but there were some fines. Both Bird and Jay were fined $7,500. Moses Malone was docked $3,500 for holding Bird while Julius repeatedly punched him, and Charles Barkley had to cough up $1,000. Sixers coach Billy Cunningham was fined $2,500 for his post-game comments. Looking for that perfect gift for the basketball fan in your life? Basketball Now is it. Newly updated for 2025, it spotlights 50 of the NBA's top stars. Think fast breaks, clutch threes, and buzzer beaters, captured in stunning photography with sharp, readable analysis. From rising stars to veteran icons, this book is a courtside pass to the game right now. Wrap up a slam dunk this holiday season. Pick up your copy of Basketball Now today at your favorite bookseller. On this day in 1946, the game that was billed as the greatest offensive battle in the history of college football ended in a 0-0 tie. This was the second-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus the defending national champs and top-ranked Army Cadets. Both teams were undefeated at this point in the season, and both were averaging more than 30 points a game. So, it was understandable to expect some offensive fireworks. Army had dominated this series the previous 2 seasons, winning by scores of 59-0 and 48-0. And then when you take a look at the rosters for these 2 teams, you have the current Heisman Trophy winner in Doc Blanchard and the guy who would win the Heisman in '46, Glenn Davis, playing for Army. Add to that, Notre Dame had quarterback Johnny Lujack, who would win the Heisman Trophy in 1947, and tight end Leon Hart, who would go on to win the Heisman Trophy in 1949, and you've got the ingredients for a powerful points-scoring stew. And by the way, this is the only game in college football history that 4 current and future Heisman Trophy winners appeared. Army carried a 25-game winning streak into this one, with their last loss coming to the Irish in 1943. This game was played at Yankee Stadium in front of 76,000 people, ready to watch points roll up on the scoreboard like a slot machine. And they got bupkis. Well, the game was still pretty amazing. Just no points were scored. It was just the opposite of what everybody thought it would actually turn out to be. Notre Dame's defense knew where to focus their attention, on Blanchard and Davis, a.k.a. Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside. The Irish held the pair to just 80 yards rushing on 35 carries. Army focused its defensive firepower on shutting down the passing game of Lujack and company. Lujack only completed 6 passes. The Fighting Irish did manage 225 yards in total offense and had the best chance to score after an 85-yard march down the field in the first half put them on Army's 4. Facing a 4th and inches, the Irish appeared to get enough for a fresh set of downs, but a penalty negated it, and the Irish were forced to turn it over on downs. Army nearly had a pick 6 after Lujack's pass was intercepted by Blanchard. Lujack made a diving stop to prevent the touchdown, and the Notre Dame defense prevented any further movement in the trenches. Neither team liked to kick field goals. Army turned it over 4 times on downs, and Notre Dame did that twice. Army had not attempted a field goal in 3 years, and I suppose when you have guys like Blanchard and Davis who consistently could get needed yardage, well, there wasn't much need. Notre Dame's kicker, Fred Early, didn't even put on his uniform for this one. He was there at the game, but he just never put on the pads and the jersey. The 0-0 final score drew grumbles from sports writers who were ready to write lengthy articles about the 2 best teams in the country battling it out. Instead, the headline in one paper read, "Much ado about nothing. Army and Notre Dame would both finish out the season undefeated, with the 1 tie leaving the national championship up to sports writers who selected the Fighting Irish over Army. On this day in 2012, Dallas Cowboys backup QB Will Grier put on quite a performance as a high schooler. In fact, the best single-game performance in high school history. Grier was the senior QB at Davidson Day School, and on this night, the Patriots were playing Harrell's Christian Academy. Grier not only set the North Carolina high school record, but eclipsed the national high school record with 834 yards passing on 34 completions. He had 10 touchdown passes, and he also ran for 2 scores. Now, it may sound like Grier and Davidson Day were running up the score on Harrell's, but the final score in this one, Davidson Day won 104-80. Grier's 834 yards passing is still the national single-game record. And on this day in 1969, one of the least liked players in professional golf beat Jack Nicklaus, finally. Australian Bruce Crampton was known to be surly with the media, golf fans, his caddy, other caddies, people who wanted to be a caddy, and fellow golfers. And just to offer up one example, at one tournament pro-am, Crampton was paired with an amiable young lady who was sure the rumors of Crampton's cranky nature were untrue. Upon meeting Crampton on the first tee, the young woman said, "A friend of mine bet me $10 you wouldn't say 5 words to me." Crampton said back, "Sorry, lady, you lose." That's 4 words, and Crampton did not speak to her again the rest of the day. Players who were paired up with him in tournaments said Crampton is rude, selfish, and inconsiderate. But he was a good golfer. He never won a major tournament, but he did finish second 4 times. Each time Crampton finished second, the man in front of him, hoisting the winner's trophy, was Jack Nicklaus. So it was with a good bit of satisfaction for the mean man of golf that on this day, Crampton beat Nicklaus and the rest of the field in the Hawaiian Open. This was the final time the Hawaiian Open was played in the fall. It would take a year off and then return in '71 with a February start. Crampton rolled in his final putt on 18 to win by 4 strokes over Nicklaus. It was his first win in 4 years, and it was his 7th tour win on his way to 15 PGA Tour wins overall. Time now for today's Got Nothing to Do with Sports Fun Fact. If you've ever wondered why finding a problem in a computer program is called debugging, well, the first ever problem with a computer program in 1947 was a literal bug, or more specifically, a moth, trapped on a Harvard Mark II computer. From that, we get the term debugging when fixing computer glitches. That's all I've got for you today. More on the way tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.